apprehend. They thought they could just walk in, jackboot their way across the Central Coast community and destroy the water supply. We aren't going to allow that to happen. We've been fighting this for 23 years, and this is a culmination of all those voluntary hours to fight for the Central Coast community. And people understand how important it is, because our water supply district is the major water supply district. Without that, the Central Coast is gone.
So why is there so much passion in this case, and why is it so politically sensitive?
Well, for me personally, I believe it's important to pass on to my granddaughter and for her to pass on to her children what I've enjoyed on the Central Coast. And along with that, of course, goes your water. It's become politically sensitive because over the years, politics has become an important part of it. The Liberals promised to put through legislation, no ifs, no buts, a guarantee. They reneged on that. People have to realise that the Berejiklian government now has an obligation to stop this, but they won't do it. They just shoved it aside and ignored it. Yet on the Central Coast, they're wanting more and more people to move in. In the next 4 years, another 40,000 homes in the northern regions will be built, but we need a guaranteed water supply. With a coal mine beneath the water catchment district, that won't happen.
Can I just ask you, Alan, I know that this is an Land and Environment Court case that you've put together with the help of the Office of the Environment, the Environmental Defender's Office. Why are they so interested in this particular case?
Well, they're interested in it because, A, we have very solid grounds under a judicial review, but part of it's to do with intergenerational equity. It's the first time in this country that such an action's been brought with that as part of the grounds. And if we win on that ground, apart from the others, it will be a landmark case in Australia and also the world. It won't be a ripple across the pond, it will be a tidal wave of change.
So you're looking for a definitive argument in your case to argue what you call intergenerational equity. What does that mean, Alan?
That means that we have to leave behind for future generations what we've enjoyed today. You just can't go out and destroy the environment, destroy your water, and leave a desolate planet, basically, or a desolate community. Nobody has the right, just because of greed and avarice and their other machinations, to jackboot their way across communities. And this community on the Central Coast has realised that, and they've stood up and said no. And that's why there's so much passion. People have just said no because they realise what the result will be.
So why have so many people come down here today for 2 hours on a Monday morning for this?
Because they are concerned. They are concerned citizens that realise this is not right. And the whole time that the ACA has been running this campaign over that 23-year period, people have always supported it because they know what's important. Water is important. You can't drink coal, and it's the lifeblood of our community, the lifeblood of our civilisations. But the mining companies have just got out of control with the help of government, and that's what's got to be stopped, and that's what we will be doing in the Land Environment Court. We win this case, which I believe we will, because our prospects of success are excellent. It will make a difference around this country.
So you're saying that this could very well be a landmark case in this intergenerational equity case in particular for other such developments around the country?
Well, it will be, not only just for coal mining, but for all developments, because it will set a very valuable precedent, and that's what we need. But we're certainly fighting it on a lot of other grounds, because the Planning Assessment Commission, we contend, erred in their approval. They should have actually said no to the mine, because they've allowed the mining company to put things off to the future, which should have been done as part of their development process, and they haven't done that. And therefore it's given us other grounds to go to the Land Environment Court, because it is a judicial review.
Now back to politics, because I understand in the talk that you gave before, there's the water trigger, which is a federal government legislative thing that could stop this mine, and also the state government. This has been passed in the upper house. So where politics has failed on both the federal and state level, you're now going to the courts. Is that a reasonable way of surmising this?
Well, it is a reasonable way of surmising it, but what the mining company, or the problem the mining company has, is that the under the EPA, or Environmental Biodiversity, anyway, the Federal Act, Melissa Price has agreed not to move forward on making a decision until after the decision of the Land Environment Court, because it would go bad for the local federal member, because if she was to approve the mine, we would seek an injunction straight away anyway, preventing any licence being granted by the state government until the decision came down from the Land Environment Court. The other problem that the mining company has is that if we get a change of legislation or change of government in March, David Harris will expedite the travel of the Wyong Water Protection Bill through the lower house, and then it will become law, and there will be no coal mining in the water catchment area.
So that's a state government lower house bit of legislation that would stop this this particular mine permanently. Is that correct?
That's correct. It would stop it in its tracks, and it's what the Liberal government had promised prior to the 2011 election, when Barry O'Farrell stood up, not as Barry O'Farrell, but on behalf of the Liberal Party, because I had briefed them on 2 occasions prior to that promise being made, where he stood up and said, the next Liberal coalition government will not allow mining here, will not allow mining in any water catchment. Legislation will reflect that promise. No ifs, no buts, a guarantee.
Has that happened, Alan?
No, the Liberal government reneged on that promise, and from all accounts, when you look at what happened in Operation Spicer, certain people certainly jumped in bed with the mining company.
All right, well, thank you very much.
My pleasure.
Here we are at the back of State Parliament in the Domain for a protest to do with the Land and Environment Court challenge to do with the Wallarah 2 coal mine. I'm joined by Alan Hayes. Why have so many people come down here today, Alan?
Because so many people are passionate and they care about protecting the water of the Central Coast. They do not want to allow a coal mining company to jackboot their way across our community just for their own greed and avarice. Our water is worth protecting, and these people recognise that fact.
Thank you.